because I've been what you are going to receive. So they're going to receive, you're going to receive a support document that's going to have a form, and that we are going to see, and a presentation that's going to be beginning of each group. We're going to present the objective and the actions of that acts so that we can frame our conversation. And this is about the time that we have, 60 minutes for the first block and 45 minutes for the second block. As you can see, it's a limited time so that we can take advantage as best we can. And then the plenary is going to have a representative from the public. Irene Murillo is there. Where's Irene? Irene is going to be, she's going to work on table 1. Cesar Artiga, there's Cesar, thank you. Table 2, Nicole Letot. Nicole is here. Well, she will come back. And Johara is going to be our relator for table 4. So there's we would have to have some interactions with Menti, and we will look for the best uh, questions possible within the possibilities of the application. So thank you so much, and we invite you now to go to your tables. Those that are stay here might go out so that we can prepare the room with the chairs and come back, and that it will be a day with hope, so that we have a great plan of regional actions for defenders of our region. Thank you.
Ahí sí. Muchas gracias por haber, ¿no sé si se escucha? No. Digo que muchas gracias por haber llegado a la hora. Vamos a esperar, no sé, 2 minutos y comenzamos. Así que los invito.
Let's wait for 2 more minutes and we will be back. Please sit up front. Please sit up front. Up front, please. Sit up front.
With our audience from the radio. Hooray to the Panamanian people. We heard that there was an important activity these last few days in Panama City, and we're very excited to learn the news. And here is, there was a demonstration in front of the hotel, and we couldn't go out because there's an important conflict with regards to the mining problem. And we have an important participation by the representatives from the public of the Escazú agreement. Perhaps I can explain now. I ask you, please, colleagues, to come forward. David, Joara, Nicole, please, if you could come and sit here in front. We have visitors from many countries, from El Salvador, Brazil, Costa Rica, and from Trinidad and Tobago. And where is the person in charge of communications, Monica? Monica is going to support us with the messages that are arriving while we are here talking to our guest. I will ask you to please introduce yourself and perhaps tell us a bit as to what you were doing here in Panama during these past few days. And share with us what it is about the Escazú agreement, why is it important, etc. Well, many questions at one time, Veronica. I think it's too much. Well, that's what we want. We want the audience to stay here. We're going to share a lot of information. We ask for your patience. And we are going to get to know those who are here with us. We have an hour to be here with the guest, the voice of the Panamanian people. And I am going to give I'm going to pass the mic so that you can introduce yourselves. Hello, thank you for the invitation. We are very pleased to be here with the Panamanian people. There is quite a bit of mobilization. The people is active and calling for us to be aware and to act. And this is very important. So we are here. My name is Edra Artiga from El Salvador. I am one of the representatives from the public, and we are here doing the task that we are supposed to do so that all these people that have trusted us for us to be their voice in this process, we can amplify their voices. Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, here with my Caribbean posse, and enjoying the hospitality and beauty of Panama and the food and the lovely people, and working here with Latin American colleagues who are so friendly and fun. And yeah, we're looking forward to lots of exchanges, learning from each other, and finding a way to help each other to improve the challenges environmental defenders in our region are facing. Thank you.
Hola.
Hola. Hello. My name is Johara from Brazil. Brazil is very extensive, very large. I am from a very tiny city called Yahoo. Yahoo? Yes, that's it. Yeah, well, that's a little bit better. Yeah, we are getting there. Yahoo. Yeah, that's right. Yahoo is in the province of São Paulo, which is in the south. We have quite a bit of Italian migration, and that's why my name is Joanna Marquesini, but we know that Brazil is very large. Hopefully we could speak to the other Brazilians that are here, and I hope to see more of Panama than just this room.
Bueno, como
As you can see, we have people from the Caribbean and Latin America. I think this is the first time that the voice of the people, that we have people from so many countries. This is wonderful. Well, my name is Irene Murillo. I am from Costa Rica. Pura vida, as we say in Costa Rica. And we have been here, and I think that we are all very thankful because we have had days of learning, meeting people and learning history that have had an impact and that have been very emotional and have moved us. And we hope to be, so thank you to all of those that have shared their experiences and voices here. Thank you very much, and we now have a first interactive question for our public. Where is our collaborator, our digital collaborator? Hi to each and everyone. We are going to have an interactive survey, and the only condition that we need is with your telephone to look for the QR. Please look for the QR just like you use when you go to the restaurant. Can you read the QR code? Okay, let's. If someone cannot do it, don't worry. In the back, where you see the pink board, there are more QRs over here. There are other codes that you can use. Those who are ready, please raise your hands. Yes, raise the first slide. We have 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 people connected. You see that the people want to participate, and this is always a challenge. We had never had so many people. I am very excited. I think this is one of the things that we're going to talk here, the importance of participation in the management of the environmental resources, so that there is equity in the participation of the voices. Well, in the forum, we're dealing with very important people that are called environmental defenders. We have never heard of that before. And I think it's great to be able to disseminate their role and their task that they are fulfilling in our society. And we have to thank each and every one of you and all the people who defend our environment. Thank you so much. Okay, we have 14 persons connected. If you cannot do it, don't worry. Let's go to the first question. From what country do you come from? Just write it on your phone, please. Okay, let's see. Let's see on the screen. Let's see Argentina. Okay, Argentina, where are you? Mexico, Paraguay, Chile, Peru. I love Chile. I've always wanted to be there. Jamaica, Spain, wow. Belize. How many countries do we have? 28 so far. Okay. And it's keep moving, Andrea. Here's the first one. Thank you so much. Okay, as I said, we understand, and we have been reading and getting information from Veronica. This is a forum of environmental defenders, and that this is part of an international agreement called Escazú that has to do with democracy, of course, but also with environmental matters. And what we had thought is, as part of the first question, is for our friend Cesar. Who are those defenders? What is this all about? So please tell our audience. Well, the defenders and the female and male defenders are very valuable people that make a very important contribution for the protection and care of the nature, of the common goods of the territory, and that are committed from many perspectives, from the ancestral perspective and traditional perspective and family and personal perspective, but most of all collective, defending that which is common, that which we call natural common goods, which is what allows to be here and to breathe and to have life as we know it and for it to continue. So as Andrea said very well, this is a task of honor of all of us to recognize the contribution, because the little that we have, and we have been saying that Mother Nature is in a critical position of no return, either because of climate change, pollution. This is because what we have is because our persons committed to take care of it and to have that opportunity is great. I also understand that from what you said, any person can be a defender on environmental matters, right? In the sense that we all care about the environment. There is also a declaration or a statement by the United Nations on the defenders that have been recognized as important people that contribute to the well-being of our planet. But also the audience, where there is a declaration, yes, this is a 25-year declaration of the defenders of human rights, and speaks of the right to defend rights. And all those here are committed with that right. The right to defend the rights, which also implies not only that, but also the right of the current and future generations. We have been talking for long, the right of the seventh generation is what the ancestrals are talking about, and even the generation that haven't been born yet. But we know that there is a very strong commitment here that transcends our lives and our generation, which is that we're committed that the water and the land and the environment is an inheritance for the coming generations, and that is why this is so important. I think that, Monica, the audience wants to participate, and I think we have many questions. I have the phone is ringing.
¿El Menti? Sí, después del Menti, ¿no?
Bien, así
Very well. So, okay, we already heard from Cesar. I would like to send the greetings to all the countries that are connected, and also to all of you. Hello to all of you. They could also connect to this Menti. And for those of you who have not done so, let's go to the next question. Let's see. Which is the axis in which you have worked? You have been working on a group. Which table did you work in? The axis of capacity, the recognition, the strengthening of capacities, and or implementation. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 4, follow-up. Who's winning? Let's see. There is a tie between tables 2 and 3, followed by table 4, and then who else? Someone that have not yet said from which table, please raise your hand. Table 1. No one. Table 2. Okay, someone back there. Table 3. Very well. There's more people over here. Table 4 back there. Okay, well. I think this was a participative forum, and I would ask our guest, Johanna, what is the objective that to meet here in Panama for you to come? If this is repeated, what is the process? How can we follow this process so that our audience could learn and take the next steps? Yes, we were looking at a draft of the action plan, and we were making comments and contributions to the action plan. So then the next time that we meet in person, it is going to be at COP3 in Chile in April. So please mark it in your calendars, and Chileans are going to receive us there. But we're going to have other encounters virtually, and we have to write those down. So until April, we have Carnival in the midst. That is a problem, I know that. And Christmas, of course, all the family meetings and all the dinners and everything else. But we have a lot of work to review to get our comments into the action plan and participate of the public consultations that are going to be at the end of the year. Well, we have to be, and how can people learn about this? Because they don't have where to take note. From here, they're going to go home, and perhaps they can lose the information. Where can we find that information, Johanna? There are many ways of learning, but one is the official one, which is the regional public mechanism. And this event, we have seen that many people have not yet registered. So we have places QR for people to register and receive official information. But also there are 6 persons that are the representatives from the public. So, they are here, obviously. So you could find out from us. Vishnu is not here, but Vishnu is here from his heart. Vishnu, hi from over here. You can learn from the official mechanisms and through us. What is this? What is a COP? We did not understand very clearly. COP. We heard about COP. What is the meaning of COP? COP is the Conference of the Parties. The Conference of the Parties is the meeting of the countries that are parties of the Escazú Agreement. These are the countries that have signed and ratified. But at the COP, we have the participation of the public, and those countries that are observers can also be at the COP. The agencies of the United Nations, which I hope would be present, on women and the High Commissioner and all the cooperation agencies and philanthropy. We hope to see you there in Chile at the COP. Nicole, we also wanted to ask you, aside from what Johanna said, what other things, more specifically, were said at the forum?
What else? Okay.
So at the forum, I think it was really important that we look deeply at the draft regional action plan to protect environmental defenders. And we have to remember a lot of work already went into this, many discussions, many sharing of ideas from you and other people. And we looked at 4 important areas that you identified here. So we worked at 4 groups looking very deeply at that. But what I think else happened at the forum that was not in the formal agenda, the plan, the objectives, was I think we continued to share information and learn about each other, identify where we all face common issues, needing more freedom of information, needing more participation, needing access to justice, learning about environmental defenders in other countries facing challenges. So there's an important objective that's not formal in terms of us building a community and a movement so we can all champion Escazú agreement in our countries if it's signed, and even if our country has not signed, we can all be Escazú champions. So I think that was another important thing that happened at the meeting.
Sí, estuve.
Veronica, a good point, Nicole. It is important that we could all be champions for Escazú. And the idea also to talk directly and have a dialogue, yes, in person. I think that for the participants it's sometimes difficult to arrive to a meeting. It takes a lot of meeting and resources. Well, what happens then with this plan? Who is going to implement it? Where is it going? Thank you. Well, just a little while ago, someone was asking me back outside there, what happened with the implementation of Escazú and what importance did it have? And I was saying that there has been a great work process in order to achieve an agreement that is really in its first few years of being in force. But what is most important about the agreement is its implementation, because this is what helps us to respect the rights of access to information for participation and justice in environmental matters. So then the idea of the action plan is for it to be to serve for the party states to implement protective measures in favor of those defenders of environmental rights. And the agreement goes even beyond. It's not only protection measures. What we want to achieve is a safe environment conducive to the work that all of these people are doing for the common good. So that is where the detail is. Especially because we understand that these people are subject to many problems by many stakeholders because of the work they do. And this is precisely what we have in Article 9 to guarantee their protection and safety. And I understand that they is talking that the action plan has certain access and what capacity have to be enforced for the compliance. How do we recognize the work of the people? How do we strengthen the capacities of the parties? And how is the plan implemented? So we would like for you to share with us. Let's begin with Irene, with generation of knowledge. What happened there that is relevant to let our audience know and to share here with us? Of course, because it was a day's work. But if we have to put everything that the people talked about, we also want to know, what can you tell us about all these key messages? Thank you. Please forgive me, because I am sure that I am going to forget something or much of what was said. I am very nervous. Okay, there were more than 14 people. That is the first thing that I must say. And we were talking about several topics. With regards to generating information, we spoke to generate a diagnosis. But the matter is how to generate that diagnosis. What type of information should it be included in it? How how to disseminate, and where do we find the information. So that's how the conversation went. And one of the main things, I think, is the idea that the information should be generated in a participatory manner. The diagnosis, we recommended in the group that it be generated in a participatory manner with diverse sources that reflect the situation in the communities and territories, that reflects the diversity, the enormous diversity of the defenders, but also the role and the historic actions of those who threaten and persecute the defenders. And that this information generated in a participatory manner also has to be done in a safe manner for the person that shared this information. I think that was very important during the discussion that we had in the group. Extremely important, yes. I would now ask Monica, how are we doing with the participation? We do have another question. We have 62 people connected. Okay. Okay. Considering everything that you heard until now, especially what Irene just said, write in one word that which reflects your priority regarding the axle of knowledge. What is that word that you think is a priority for you? Inclusion, anything else? Who else? Let's see, intersectionality, perfect. Inclusion, once again. ATP communication. What is ATP? That is a good question. Who said that? Can you clarify what or tell us what ATP is? Apt for all public, for all public. Oh, we should know that. It seems like we're lacking information. Children, women, indigenous people, protective data. Okay, help me. Comprehensive integration, security, data security, environmental statistics. Okay, more and more creative. Intergenerational is super important, and protection mechanisms. Thank you very much for your contributions. A very nurtured group. Okay, thank you so much. And Nicole was asking about the interpretation, and it seems like it's, yes, speak a little bit slower. Thank you so much. Okay, let's now go to Cesar. Cesar, could you tell us, since you have been since you coordinated the recognition table, why should we recognize? That is very important. We need to recognize the defenders, I understand that, but how can we do that? What should we do in all areas for this to happen? Well, in our table, we had over 40 people. It was quite a wide range of group. We had 3 working groups, and the discussion was very rich and very good. Well, the variable contributions that we received, recognition was discussed because since the beginning of the forum, there were many people that were talking about going beyond recognition, not only to recognize, but also to respect and to value the contribution of the defenders. Why? Because of what we just said, because it's a common good task, which is extremely important, and not important just in general and for all, but also for very specific matters. And in what sense? Well, we spoke about the right to the safe, healthy, and clean and sustainable environment, which is a resolution of the United Nations. And there was a very special interest to make visible this task of the defenders. which is a contribution for us to live in an environment of that type. And not only for that, because we are also talking about that life as we know could disappear at any moment. The scientific community tells us that we have less time. And what does that recognition mean? Well, do we have to act urgently and with specific actions? There were also some recommendations to add access, of course. There is a very particular interest in incorporating an access to the plan with regards to reparation and compensation. There was also a proposal made of drafting a new line of action within this axle of recognition to promote the elaboration of orientation about what is the recognition of the environmental defenders, to allow the contribution, because we need to have a minimum standard of what is the recognition and how we value that contribution. Those points are extremely important. And I will now give the floor to Monica. I think that the audience is insisting on participating. There's much interest from everywhere. Okay, let's go to the next one. This question has to do with something that Cesar was mentioning, and it says, considering everything that you heard, write on one word also, what was it that you liked the most or would you like of the recognition axle? Also, for those who participated in this axle, value, respect, interactions, repair, territorial rights, respect, a sense of urgency, the right of Mother Earth to guarantee the protection, respect, once again, the value and respect, and continue, let's see, intercultural, etc. All of the messages are going to be available for you to see them more clearly, and thank you for your contribution. I think the audience knows, and they know what about everything that they are sharing with us. I am now going to share it to English so that Joara, or I should say so that Nicole could share with us. No, it's fine. Could you share with us, Nicole, what were the main recommendations that were discussed in your strengthening of capacities and cooperation table?
It's an action plan, so people really want to see implementation happen, it not be paper. It's a 6-year plan. So this section talked about what capacity building is needed and how do we make sure it's implemented. So the first discussion was who is going to implement the plan and who is going to benefit, who is the target that needs capacity building to make that happen. So the first important point was governments who have signed on to ESCAZU, the parties to the agreement, they are responsible to implement. But secondly, we recognize that many non-governmental actors, civil society organizations, environmental defenders, community organizations, indigenous peoples, women's groups, also will help to implement. So that was the first important point. Therefore, it is important that both sets get capacity building. And we really emphasize that also environmental defenders need capacity building to be able to do their good work. So this was very important, needed to be picked up. The second thing we talked about is in the ESCAZU agreement, recognizing that environmental defenders face many forms of discrimination, and this intersection of different forms of discrimination needs to be picked up in the document, needs to be framed very clearly, and also that gender, interculturality, intersectionality, and intergenerational aspects need to be mainstreamed to ensure implementation targets all of these different groups and is sensitive. Important point that there's a lot of talk in this section about it's a regional action plan to support national implementation, but implementation must happen at the local level, the subnational level. So that must be emphasized, and therefore work needs to happen to support the national level. But also that at the regional level, there's work needed, cooperation, knowledge exchange. And also at the international level, we can draw on international mechanisms, international actors for support, especially where violation of rights is happening in countries. So all of these levels, local, national, regional, international. We talked a lot that the actions need to emphasize that work needs to be tailored and targeted to different audiences, including in different formats and languages, but recognizing all of these are different people, different groups. And we need to talk more broadly about communication and capacity building, not just, for example, training. There are many ways to build capacity and to achieve more knowledge, more awareness, more change in behavior. We also talked about 2 additional actions, that a special action is needed on financing, because without financing, no action happens. And so we were reminded that ESCAZU has a fund for implementation for parties. It's a voluntary fund where countries or other people can put money in to help support implementation. So this can be accessed by parties. And there was an idea that can we develop a mechanism where that fund can also provide financing to non-governmental actors, but also that there needs to be in the action saying that non-governmental actors need support to be able to access funding that is appropriate, that is accessible, that is tailored and flexible to their needs, and they need to have the right and support to access international funding and not be blocked from that. So the financing to non-governmental actors was really important. And then we talked a lot about implementation is so linked to accountability. So we talked quite a bit about that and building capacity for oversight and accountability for implementation.
Gracias, Nicole. Ese grupo sí.
Thank you, Nicole. That group has a lot of work ahead, especially, how do we say it, how we say in Mexico, to pass the back to the states for them to start concretizing those commitments. So a good work of connecting concepts and how they are linked in reality. One leads to the other one, and if we don't do it, then we can't go to the next step. And also, it spills over the other axes that Joara and Cesar commented until now. Irene, I'm sorry. And also the review of and follow-up. Before that, I think that the audience was very interested in everything that Nicole said, and I think that we can hear the audience. Well, let's see another thermometer of the axes that we just mentioned. Let's go to the cell phones. Same question, considering everything that you heard. And I know that this was in English, but Andrea made a summary that was very good with Veronica. And you please comment on this. One word that identifies one priority for your country based on the capacity strengthening access. I know that there are many, but just put one: capacity building, interculturality. There was an English-speaking group here that was, where are those who comprise that group? Table number 3, please raise your hands. Are there any opinions? Think about the territories. Oh, police and militaries, justice, ratification, environmental fight, cosmovision, protective measures, political will, intergenerational, once again, of officers, construction, gender, and more. I think that we'll see more words. I invite you to connect. Thank you. Monica, for connecting with the audience. And we are now, let's see, Andrea, do we have time? Because we have the colleagues from the next program. Okay, we're good on time. Okay, I would now ask Joanna, because this, how is this implemented? What are the next steps of this access of revision, review, and follow-up? How are we going to do this? As Cesar mentioned, that we have that there are 6 years, that the states have 6 years to implement this plan, and how are they going to do this? Yes, our group had people were working. So, but if I forget something, please let me know. It was very exciting because we worked separately, but we connected very well. And the first is with regards to indicators. We have to repeat this, and the group suggested a new line of action by indicators, and for this to be indicators built together with the public, considering all the diversity that the public comprise. Also a focus on gender, interculturality, intergenerational, and other focus, but to have indicators. That was the main point. We also spoke about ample and significant participation by the public in all axes, and not only in the review and follow-up. And here we had a very rich discussion, and I thank all of those of you who shared about naming or not all the groups which are part of the public. And we also had a discussion, and I think that we have reached a solution, and our solution is let's name, because they must be named, and let's gather the language that we have in the Escazú Agreement and the other international standards. We are not inventing the wheel. So also, because if there is a risk of leaving someone outside, Escazú already has elements. It has the principles. It has the most favorable interpretation. So let's do this with the so that we can do it, and we can use language that is inclusive, and if some margin in case that there were other groups in the future, they can be included in the review, revision, and action plan. And something very important here is that the participation is not only the position of a victim. If people need to contribute from other perspectives, from their capacities, from their ancestral knowledge, and from their vision, which is very ample and diverse in Latin America. And the need to do a proactive search of these people. And we are not here just waiting for them to come to us, but we have to go and look for them and incentivize them to come and participate in this forum and other spaces. And lastly, we spoke about the reports, and as you said, it's 6 years is a lot of time. So we said that the reports have to be yearly, and that the regional reports be yearly, yes, but more than generating documents to say, yes, I did it, and a list of things, it's to strengthen the way in which we evaluate and the accountability. And from there, consider the contributions of the public, and we have made suggestions of citizen audit in that process. The people from the Caribbean spoke quite a bit about that, and also we spoke about the financial support to the committee, which is something that has to be included in all the follow-up elements of review and follow-up of the plan. And also the access of repair and compensation as a new access. So I think there is a strength from the public in that sense, especially in the justice systems, for them to be effective, to be channels of communication, adequate channels of communication, because without a prevention and reparation, there is no justice.
Thank you, Yora. I think there are several new action lines, and I think you will have a lot of work, at least the people in charge, to continue to draft and contribute into this plan, how we can really answer or respond to that vision also that the public has, and that is very important. What you do not name, what you do not talk about, it does not exist. I think I've received an information, and I think it's worthwhile. Those who organize this, they have the task to systematize everything, to put everything in a document. I think there's a network of moderators who are going to send on the input. Interesting. So after that, this systematization is going to exist, and that now the only things that are clear or motivating that people wanted to share. I think the public, I think is worthwhile for what you have heard from Johanna. What do you think? To see if anyone from the public would like to comment. Here is the last question in relation to what Johanna has, the follow-up. And the question is, in a phrase you can answer, which is the most important action to do a good follow-up? How important it is? Do you agree? Yes, more, a little bit. So here we have some answers: accountability and transparency, national evaluation, revision and compliance, good measurement indicators that are qualitative and quantitative, a mechanism that are apt, bank, and also having a good plan. Escazú and the territories. Civil society, transparency, people are voting. And up to now, this is very important concepts. Andrea, thinking that we had this big public, and thinking that we have some minutes, maybe someone from the public could like to state briefly some proposals or some recommendations. You can lift your hand. There.
Of the regional agreement, my colleagues represented here today from Mexico, Honduras, Suriname, and Belize participated, and we, the members of the parliament participating in the Parliamentary Caucus on Protecting Human Rights Defenders in Environmental Matters. We start off expressing gratitude to ECLAC for co-organizing this conversation, to the experts sharing their knowledge, and to every person promoting and defending human rights in environmental matters, to the donors for their support, to Parliamentarians for Global Action's work in the promotion of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. And we also take this opportunity to jointly recognize the invaluable work of the public and human rights defenders. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Your work strengthens democracy, access rights to sustainable development, and fundamental contributions. We also acknowledge the key role that parliamentarians play in their capacity to legislate, to scrutinize, and to champion issues as elected representatives closest to their communities and their shared goal to promote and protect human rights, democracy, peace, for a more equitable, safe, sustainable, and democratic world. So we've agreed on the following recommendations, and what we've done, we've broken them out into different categories. We start with an effective legal framework. We suggest, or we recommend, safeguard the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment by ratifying the Escazú Agreement and harmonizing its commitments in the legal framework, including through legislative reform and/or constitutional amendment. Analyzing existing legal frameworks in states who have ratified Escazú to ensure implementing legislation is effective and includes enforcement mechanisms. In states who have yet to ratify the agreement, identify opportunities in existing legislation to strengthen a framework in line with the agreement. 3, promote dialogue with local communities to ensure the term of human rights defenders in environmental matters is appropriately encompassed in their inherent cultural heritage, customary rights and diversity as Afro-descendants, indigenous peoples, and women, as well as their different roles and expressions as community leaders, journalists, lawyers, and others. And always remaining mindful of intersectionality and intergenerational approaches. 4, use existing processes and mechanisms in parliaments to meaningfully and regularly engage with civil society, academia, and the public on environmental matters. Consider campaign finance reform or introducing campaign finance legislation to promote transparency and accountability in Parliament. On strengthening capacity and cooperation, we recommend increasing regional cooperation through parliamentary networks such as PGA to share lessons learned and to provide concrete examples of effective implementation of the Escazú Agreement between countries who have ratified it and to encourage discussions with those countries who have yet to ratify. 7, engage in international and regional platforms and fora that allow parliamentarians to exchange experiences and develop innovative strategies to address common challenges, reflecting the cooperative models created by the agreement and other international human rights instruments. 8, commit to cross-party cooperation on the protection of the environment and related human rights issues and craft messages that provide accurate information on the Escazú Agreement. Improve coordination among parliamentary committees with prerogatives beyond the environment to ensure an intersectional approach with emphasis to protect human rights defenders in environmental matters. On improving oversight, we recommend elaborate parliamentary questions, and request information from relevant ministries to encourage the establishment of national qualitative and quantitative measures and indicators with strong accountability and reporting mechanisms on environmental matters. 11, maintain as priority in the legislative agenda and thus in the allocation of funds during budgetary sessions, programs and policies that encourage multi-stakeholder cooperation between government and civil society on environmental matters, both at the national and regional levels. Such programs should ensure transparency and accountability for a progressive decision-making process. On becoming a champion, all of you, we recommend using our platforms to educate our societies about human rights and to create a culture respectful of the environment. Raise awareness on the need for the access rights to information, public participation, and justice in the environmental matters through the Escazú Agreement. And finally, amplify each other's work to alert about violations of rights of human and environmental defenders at the national, regional, and international levels. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our recommendations. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Two more, please, very quickly. For me, which is the most important action, to do a good follow-up, visibilize cases where there is compliance. Otherwise, we're going to come and see and discover which is the path. So I insist always that we have to keep hope. We have to, it's like social depression, to say it. And this is very important, I insist. Countries, in the case that Colombia from this forum feels the pressure of all defenders here present, feels so that they will ratify now this agreement. Or the case of Mexico, Colombia, they have specific mechanisms that they apply them. There's no excuse. They have to begin applying now to begin to generate a route so that the rest of the nations can share these cases of success and implementation. Thank you. What do we do next, Vero? I think we can thank, first of all, the task of the representative of the public, our guest here today, for the role that they have in society in the defense and protection of human rights in general and in particular of the environment. And I think that I would ask to conclude because I have to take them back to the hotel. Now we have to conclude the forum. So if you can share a concept that reflects the work and the spirit of the forum, a word that you will take with you. What do you take from Panama? What do you take away? And one word. I think we hope with a renewed engagement, with a lot of strength, togetherness. Thank you. With responsibility. And in this special silence that's produced, I would also like for us to have a minute of silence for all of you and for those that are not with us today.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Espero que no.
Thank you. I hope we go away with hope, with energy. Very grateful for all your work today. Now the voice of the people of Panama, and we will continue from work from the Secretariat to have the best report possible between all of us to have participation for our action plan. Now we have the formal closure of the forum.
Ahora hay un café y después la clausura.
environmental matters in Latin America and the Caribbean that taking place here in Panama from the 26th, 28th September. We are concluding this meeting as we stated previously in the radio session, with a lot of hope and a lot of desire to continue. I welcome to the authorities of the government of Panama, as well as the co-organizers that are here with me today on the table, as well as to defenders of the environment in the region that we have added to them to be so that the voice of the territories can be heard. And for that, I recognize Josefina Santiago. She is a Mexican leader, indigenous Mexican leader. Paola Quiñones, defender from Colombia, Afro-descendant from Colombia. And now I give the floor. Let's try to be strict the time. The representative from the government of Panama, Jenny Villarreal, the environmental legal affairs head, as a focal point with the Escazú agreement. Madame Villarreal, you have the floor. Good afternoon, defenders, guests, and authorities. It is an honor to be able to be in this place with you. And then after being delegated by the Mr. Minister of the Environment, Melciades Concepcion, to address you in the final phase of this meeting. This will allow me to reflect on the very important subject that we have worked on these days, underscoring the role that had to be developed by the states in the protection of the defenders of the environment. The challenge of protecting the natural richness of our region is enormous. We face a triple environmental crisis, climate crisis. We need to put the engagement with the Escazú agreement, with the creation of these spaces for interaction. The region has made great progress to contribute to the development of mechanisms, consultation, and participation of citizens. The importance of the defenders of the environment is without doubt. They are the voice of nature, the conscience of local society, and the hope of a sustainable future for coming generations. However, daily they face dangers in the exercise of their work: threats, intimidations, violence, and even murder. Unfortunately, this is a reality for many of them in Latin America and the Caribbean. And this is not acceptable and has to stop. We share the words of Cesar Ardila, elected representative of the public for the Escazú Agreement from Salvador, when he mentioned that the proposals and initiatives that are born in this forum they are taken into account and afterward incorporated into tools that the Escazú Agreement provides for all. And it is here that the joint work of governments of our region, because they have the main responsibility of guaranteeing a secure and appropriate environment so that the defenders of the environment can carry on their work. And finally, please, from the Mr. Minister and from the team of the Ministry of the Environment, please receive our gratefulness for having honored us with for this second forum of defenders on environmental affairs to have place here in Panama. And we hope that these projections as a region we must follow. We hope that you will go back safely to your country. And with Marcelo Coisilla stated, that he said at the beginning of the forum. There is no management without of the environment without the public. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Villarreal. Now we give the floor Josefina Santiago from the territories. Also, she will be participate in this closure. Josefina, you have the floor. Good afternoon to you all. Authorities here with us, as well to the colleagues, defenders of the different indigenous communities of all countries, as well as the defenders of organizations. We are grateful for Escazú and also the United Nations that they have found this way to get together with the indigenous communities and other populations, or the public as it is known, that our words as indigenous communities will have more and more influence in the taking care of life, land, and the care of the forest, minerals, and water. That every day there's investors, it's private sector, corporations, they be sensibilized with the natural resources that we indigenous people do, that these resources that also have life, they're living beings, and our life depends on them. And as long as we see them as beings with life, we can protect them and protect ourselves. And that those agreements that are done at the international level, as well as they began to be included as indigenous communities, that there be an opening and we can hear each other and take care of us. Thank you, Josefina. Now, Mr. Alberto Nori, from the Office of the High Commissioner of the United Nations for Human Rights. Thank you. Good afternoon. I excuse myself. I was not yesterday or before yesterday because I had a mission with other defenders of human rights in Costa Rica. We have come to the end of this second forum for defenders of the environment. And even though we know that we face challenges that are important, it seems that we have been able to make progress from strategic lines definition so that we can generate a secure environment for those that promote and defend human rights related to environmental matters. And these days, I understand we have made a lot of learning and reflections. And I understand that we have talked about the risk, the challenges faced by the people that are defenders, is mainly when they are trying to use their right to free expression and participation, especially in what relates to indigenous women, attacked and criminalized as defenders, communicators, and educators, as well as Afro-descendant women. We have also gone deeply on the risks and challenges that are arising when defending the environment in digital spaces. It is really concerning how in this environment that takes more and more importance, is outside the public policies in actual regulations in the continent. We have been witnesses from the tactics and legal that try to stop these people from talking, and how those actions go against environmental protection. And we also understand that we have heard good practices and initiatives that try to strengthen and protect the rights of people, groups or organizations that promote and defend human rights in environmental matters. Even though we recognize the challenge in the implementation of these initiatives, it is clear that there is an engagement, strong engagement to face it. We have received positively from the working group on the defenders, liderized by Chile, Ecuador, and San Cristobal and Nieves, the proposal of the action plan based on 4 pillars. The discussions that have, enriching discussions that we have had these days, and those that will take place virtually, will guide us in the creation of a regional tool that tries to recognize, promote, and protect the rights of people that are defenders in environmental matters, including measures to guarantee the investigation, prompt, and independent and impartial of the crimes against defenders, and measures to prevent criminalization of the exercise of their work. Likewise, it is important that we take immediate measures to prevent investigating for these intimidations for those to defend human rights, especially in the region, that has the horrible distinction of being the most dangerous in the world, to be able to use the right to defend human rights. To conclude, from the High Commissioner Office for Human Rights, we encourage all those involved in the construction of this regional tool to listen and integrate the voices of those that have here given their evidence, that have provided ideas and reflections, including those powerful voices of indigenous women and Afro-descendant women. Their struggles and resilience have been evident during the whole forum. When they're doing this, not only are we strengthening the action plan, but also the rich diversity of the whole region. I am sure that together we will go forth to a more secure and just future for all. This is what we hope, and this is what we will do. Thank you, Alberto. Now, we give the floor to Mr. Juan Bello, Regional Director of the United Nations Program for the Environment. Thank you, and good afternoon to you all. I would like to start expressing our gratefulness for being part of this closure, and also for the opportunity that we have had to contribute to this space of dialogue and regional cooperation, especially in order to implement Article 9 of the Escazú Agreement and 1/6 of the parties. Likewise, I would like to underscore, first of all, the efforts that have been made from the first annual forum just up to today. What we have gone through this beginning of the Escazú Agreement is really offers improvement for its implementation, and today we are more united, with more experience and with more enthusiasm. The development of the action plan is an example of these efforts. I would like to congratulate the presidency and the directive of this for the Republic of Panama for hosting this second forum, and of course all the persons and people that with their words, their testimony, their reflections and contributions have helped to build this path. Once again, we would like to recognize the work of ICLAC with this work, and especially with this preparation of the second annual forum, and also the High Commissioner of the United Nations for the human rights, of the program of the United Nations for development, and the support of ONU Women. We are proud of being part of this collaboration. As have already been stated, Latin America and the Caribbean have an enormous richness of nature and natural resources and cultural richness. We have something in common here, love for this home, for that nature of which we are part and on which we depend, and also for the solidarity and the mutual care that we have as a species. Our proposal is therefore to promote the implementation of effective solutions to go against this violation of rights and of those that defend the environment. It is important to underscore that there is a very improvements in the international order. We have two historic resolutions that have been approved by the Council of Human Rights and by the General Assembly of the United Nations. And this resolution recognized to have a healthy and sustainable environment. This resolution have also done support to legislative in the tribunals and the courts by the governments, children, young people, and groups and defenders of the environment. These resolutions further on have encouraged the countries to realize the importance of a natural and healthy environment, have created new governability, especially in the Conference of the Parties on Climate Change in COP in all 27, and also biodiversity in Montreal, that mainly agreed the adoption of a focus based on human rights for the conservation and restoration of biodiversity, historical COP. The frame recognizes the rights of indigenous people and local communities, precisely those that better take care of nature. The frame also recognizes the essential role of people and groups that defend human rights and the environment, people that would like to don't care giving their life to protect nature. These people can be individuals in organizations, communities, and in many cases, they are citizens that would only like to exercise their right. We think that all those people that defend human rights when their exercise is menaced, and particularly those constitutional rights to an environment that is healthy and clean. As we said yesterday, many times people and those who protect the environment, they do this because of need. Some don't even consider them defenders of human rights or environmental rights. For all of this, it is difficult, but it's urgent and necessary to make progress in a context that is so complex with political, social, environmental, and political crises that are all related. And in this frame, we will continue to defend the rights and will oppose to the wave of violence that is more and more intense against people that protect the environment, and especially the impunity in which those type of acts are carried out. In front of this, we have the moral imperative to be defenders. We also have to engage from our roles, that we are lawyers, judges, journalists, officials of any roles that we have. If all people here present would feel people that are defenders, and we would act likewise, danger of those in first line would decrease. And this is precisely the work we are doing right now.
Pueden apoyar a las defensoras y a los
UNEP is here to protect the environment, and also the states, organization of civil society, and human rights, and those that are contributed to this task. We think that this is a very special moment to continue with this work and to continue our work to implement what has been agreed in Article 9 in the whole Escazú Agreement, and create a healthy, clean, and secure environment for all, and not only for one or two. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Juan. Y ahora me gustaría hacer una...
I would like to break to give you very bad news, very sad news. The Vice President of the Committee of Compliance of the Caribbean, Karen Stephens, just lost. Her mother died, and we would take 1 minute to accompany her with our thoughts, and just that we can all, in this room of life, we can shelter her in these moments we know that are very difficult for her. Please accompany me.
Creo que podemos aplaudir también por
You can also join our hands. Continuing with the order, now I would like Paloma Quiñones, defender, Afro-descendant from Colombia. She has I know Colombia is very near in the map. She comes from small villages that is not as connected with Panama, so we are very happy to have you here, Paula. Thank you, greetings to you all. Thank you for the subject of social inclusion, this forum, annual forum, ICLAC, the Republic of Panama, the Escazú Agreement, and the United Nations, and thank the Environment Society that had allowed the 7 women defenders of human rights are here today. So please join your hands. It is a pleasure, social inclusion, to really have going structural racism that we have all lived in these Afro-descendant communities. And this is important scenery that we will continue to be defenders to need this word, to take to all our territories auto-care, self-care, defense to life, and to be all of us be able to work in the construction and team, making progress with all these subjects that it is take care of our fauna, flora, and the life of our leaders, which is very important. I will stop a moment that I will say something that is very delicate for me and very important, that we have to get all together in the defense of life. The Maxima, her daughter and family, when they came back to Peru, when she goes back to Peru, she might be killed. And this is what happens with all of leaders and defenders. From now, from ECLAC and from the second annual forum, we ask the total support to save the life of our colleague Maxima. This the work, we do this with our heart, and we do this to defend, conserve, and always take our culture and our history forth. We have all been sequestered. We have been displaced from our territories, and we have been damaged. So it is not justified that a leader that today is defending the life, defending her land and fauna and flora, will be killed when she reaches Peru. So I call you, this is an urgent call. I really think you have this care with NGOs and with communities, indigenous communities, Afro-descendant, and that we all work this subject of gender. That is very important. Please, plan on gender.
Thank you so much. And only to tell you that life is constitutional, and we have to defend our territory, and we have to fight and resist. That is the fight of all the leaders in our countries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Paola. And now I look to my left to recognize Jessica Jones. She is a program official, a UN public official for the development, or another of the organizing partners. You have the floor, Jessica. Thank you so much. Firstly, for the UNDP, it's great to be here as a witness of this space. We thank the secretaries to the ECLAC and all agencies of the systems, as was mentioned by the resident coordinator of UN Panama on the day of the inauguration. It is important for the system that is here, giving us this hope, or this sense of hope. And I think it has been expressed by all the colleagues. We are in the best disposition to continue accompanying you. I had 2 reflections that I would like to share with you after these couple of days, which have been truly intense and of much learning, to learn from your own voices, to tell us what you live on a daily basis on the defense of the fight for a healthy environment and for your life, which is what we have highlighted here. On the one side, when we think of the Rio Declaration and that Principle 10, which is the origin of those who sat down so many years ago and thought that it was important to introduce a concept that the best way to address the environmental matters was with access to information and the right to access of information, right to participation, and just the environmental justice, and to combine also other principles that should be considered, women and gender, and also youth, children. They did this thinking, of course, that the challenge, how do we put all the development agenda with the environmental agenda, and how can we join them? And those are part of the challenges that we still have, that we think that we can compartmentalize and work in segregation, and this is not allowing us to have a balance and equilibrium. And along those lines, the subject of governance for us becomes something which is fundamental, and it has been mentioned here within these past few days. It is related to spaces, processes, mechanisms to make the best decisions as to how people want to prosper, how do people want to see their community, how do people want to, you who are here today, that relationship between people, territories, nature, and prosperity, the axis of the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development. A few weeks ago, we supported within the framework of the General Assembly of the United Nations a space for conversation to bring again these critical matters with regards to the rule of law, democracy, justice, human rights, seen from the point of view of the polarization that we currently have and all these conflicts that are emerging and that have to do with that collusion in which we are trying to look is for all people to live well. I think this is important in environmental matters, and we have been here, and that Article 9 has been developed to the Escazú Agreement, and that is only because something is failing, and that is, on the one side, I insist, the effective governance and that decision-making with the people for to decide on their own present and future, and to include environmental matters, but also matters of the better development, of human development within the sustainability. And my last reflection, and with this, I would like to, for you, in the development of our tables, have emphasized is that this is a work that cannot be done by ourselves. It can be done in partnerships. And I think this is another proof of the work that is being done here with the organizations that are here present and the different countries. And the private sector has to have a more preponderant role. But two things here which I would like to mention. Latin America is characterized by informality. So we had to focalize an intervention in small and medium enterprises and work with them with due diligence and the focus of women as well as to how this integrates the focus of human rights for all these initiatives, because something that has been mentioned also is how this is linked with the way of lives to prosper. So then I think that for us, and I insist, is just to thank the agencies that are here and to thank the government of Panama, to thank you all and congratulate you once again, and to ask you to please continue forward with this work, which is indispensable, not to leave anyone behind.
Muchas gracias, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We are almost at the end of this closing ceremony, and now we give the floor to Sebastian Patel from the World Bank. The bank has been an important partner in many of the countries and is much interested in continuing contributing. Good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the ECLAC for allowing us the honor to speak during this closing ceremony. I would also like to thank and congratulate the Organization of the United Nations, to the Republic of Panama as a host of this forum, and the representative of the states, and of course also the defenders and the public in general that help build the Escazú Agreement on a daily basis. Last year we had the opportunity to participate also in this forum, and we mentioned the importance that from the bank we see that the Escazú has for the region. to generate common standards in matters of access, and also the need to generate a safe and proper environment, and to recognize, promote, and protect the defenders. That is extremely important. The World Bank also has an environmental and social frame since the year 2018 that includes has much synergy with the Escazú Agreement, especially in matters of access to information, public participation, and claims, and also zero retaliation, together with an internal mechanism of easy access and without cost, confidential for all the persons that would like to express their concerns and claims with regards to the project that the bank finances on the party states. Now, the environmental and social frame, just like the Escazú Agreement, is relatively new, and it has to be improved in its implementation in time. And for us to have the opportunity to participate in the COP and to see the implementation process, to see how Escazú is developed, and to learn from the process and from you, is also a valuable opportunity, learning opportunity, and that we take back to the bank once the forum concludes. Finally, I would like to say that our participation is possible thanks to the support from the Human Rights Fund, and managed by the World Bank, which we have built an alliance or partnership with ECLAC to find support for the implementation of the agreement, and with a humble contribution, and with the participation of those who were mentioned yesterday. I would also like to congratulate all of you for the progress that have been made in this event. Of course, there are many challenges, and the defenders face difficulties, huge difficulties. But this process is truly unique, it's very valuable, and it's an inspiration. And we hope that at the COP3, the regional action plan becomes a reality. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sebastián. And well, on behalf of ECLAC, I will close this panel and the forum, thanking, and I think that little can be added to what all the colleagues at the table have mentioned. But I do have to thank the government of Panama that has hosted us, that have since the beginning, they have wanted to be also a part of the history, to the organizers of the forum that are here with me. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to ask my colleagues of the agencies to please, the teams of Alberto, Juan, and Jessica is here, to please stand up so that all of you can recognize the team that has been working at the agencies. And Francis from the government of Panama, please, if you can please stand up. And my team, I am here just as a spokesperson, and from the Executive Secretariat of the ECLAC, starting with the director and all of those that are here, men and women, very committed with this. Please stand up. A small team, but very effective and very efficient. And finally, recognition to all of you, all defenders that are here, without whom we couldn't have a forum. These have been 3 intense days with moments of happiness and enormous sadness and frustration. More than 400 people were registered, and only 300 people arrived from 27 countries in the region, and from others that we have not. Almost of the 33 countries, 27 are here present, which is proof of the interest and of the representation that this forum has, and of the need to work jointly. Also, I would like to say that in these past few days, we have shared hopes to change things, to do justice, and not to repeat the errors of the past. We have exchanged, as we said, we have come together, we have added ideas, efforts, and the most importantly, we have added hearts, the hearts of all of us here present, that has contributed a grain of sand, and will continue to do so when you get back home. And this is the Escazú agreement is live, is inclusive, in which we are all needed. And not only in these 4 walls, but we have to go beyond to make sure that this is a reality in practice for all of those who live in this beautiful region, and to preserve it for the future generations. And in this second forum, we have not only talked about the challenges of the defenders, we have tried to contribute. We have listened about the party states, and I recognize many of you, of the measurements, your development in order to implement the agreement. And thanks to the coordinators of the work group Chile, Ecuador, San Kitts and Nevis, we have been able to know more about the document that they have made available to all of us for the consideration of the Conference of the Parties. And this is just the beginning of that consultation, of the dialogue that will continue to hopefully, as we all hope, will be approved at the COP3. And therefore, we hope that this forum will be a point for change for the cooperation. In the upcoming months, there is no doubt, are going to be intense. We need more countries. It was already said since the inauguration, more countries, but also more active implementators. And that goes beyond the states. We can all contribute and continue to work harder. And let us not forget why we're here. I will conclude by saying a phrase from Francisco Alves Menes Filho, known as Chico Mendes, that quotes, "At the beginning I thought I was fighting to save the trees, then I thought I was fighting to defend the Amazon, and then I realized I'm fighting for humanity." How much truth and how current this statement is. So to all of you, boys and girls from the region, fighters that are unfatigable, that have a life legacy, I invite you to continue in this path. We count on you. Have a safe trip back home, and thank you for having been here with us. It has been an honor for the ECLAC.
Perdón, sí, se me olvidó la foto, por favor, vamos a hacer una foto de grupo. Si pueden todos aproximarse con la emoción.